Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 67 of the Run in the Paint podcast. I'm Miles. I'm here with Joey and Nick. Guys, how are you doing today?
Feeling good, feeling good. Had a great weekend this past weekend, and happy Monday or Tuesday for the listeners. Hope your week is starting good.
Yeah, what's up, guys? Welcome to the pod. We did have a very fun pool day the other day. Got some good basketball in, and hopefully we'll be making those videos available to you guys soon on the YouTube page. Miles, is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. I'll get those games will be posted. I've edited. We only 3 games that I did end up editing, but there were some fun moments in those games.
Frustrating.
All of us played really well. It was a very fun day getting to see one.
Yeah, the pool is the equalizer for all ages, sizes, shapes. Like, you get in the pool, you are unable to move. You got to focus on ball movement and rebounding.
Yeah, I don't get run off the court like I do in the pool, like I do in real life.
Before we actually start the pod, Miles, I got to ask, what's up with you in the Knicks gear on the pod constantly in Knicks gear?
Oh, this is just a random, what is this? A New York
basketball.
Rec
shirt
League
that I got last year.
Dude's constantly wearing Knicks gear.
I don't know. Hey, Knicks, for as much stuff with the New York Knicks, I do love their logos and all that stuff too. I love their branding. They're definitely one of my favorites in the league. So I got to rock them sometimes. That is the goal one day, is to have something of every team. I'm working on that.
You love saying their name too.
Yep.
The New York Knicks.
The New York Knicks.
Gotta love the New York Knicks. Well, this is our first episode in a week. We keep having these week-long breaks. Last Thursday, my power went out. If you're in the Cleveland area, you know that there were some crazy storms. So I lost power for a good 3 to 4 days. So we're unable to record, but we're going to make up for today. We're going to do 2 top 10 lists, shooting guards and small forwards. But before we get to that, we are going to have a fill-in-the-blank segment with all of the most recent news. And these first few, headlines are fill-in-the-blanks from the Olympics, because the Olympics did wrap up. And, of course, the gold medal game with the USA versus France. That's right. And the USA was able to pull it out in the clutch thanks to some ridiculous shot making from Steph Curry. So the first fill in the blank, we'll start with you, Joey. Steph Curry's last 2 games were blank.
Steffortless.
Nice.
I will take a word from that. I think it's Kenny Smith always says on TNT. It looks Steffortless. Like, he just makes it, especially that final. He just made it look so easy.
Yeah.
He really is the greatest shooter of all time. I know it's been thrown around for the last 5 to 10 years, really. But, like, honestly, this just sets him apart from everything, doing it on the international stage now, too.
Yeah, I had a bunch of good, I thought, very descriptive adjectives lined up here for this fill in the blank, but I was not ready for Steffortless. Whew.
No.
Steffortless. I mean, I don't even want to say my word. My word is just miraculous. His last 2 games were miraculous. I don't have much more to say than that. It's just him at the highest level that you can get to in basketball right now. Like, he's putting that on display with his shooting.
100%.
Miles, you got a word lined up?
Steffortless and miraculous are pretty good. I mean, this was historic.
Yeah.
In this type of environment. I mean, for the first 4 games, I know Jackson was on here talking trash about Steph Curry because he, was getting off to a slow start shooting the ball. But these last 2 games, he hit 17 threes in 2 games, scores 60 points in the 2 most important games. Like, the Serbia game where he hit 9 threes, where the USA was down by 15 points. They could have lost that game easily, but they just turned it on in the fourth quarter. And it was led by, LeBron James. But Steph Curry's shot making really kept them in the game for a while. And it was legendary. It was incredible to watch. I mean, he is still, as great, as great of making those tough long shots as he ever has been in his career at this point.
He heard Goglin rated him at number 7 in the league, and and we put him at 4, just outside the top 30. He's like, all right, let me change some minds real quick.
Exactly. I mean, it was just ridiculous. Like, the next fill in the blank, we can go to it because this Steph thing was so incredible. This fill in the blank, the moment you'll remember most from the 2024 Olympics is, let's go besides Steph Curry, because obviously that's what I'm going to remember most personally. But besides Steph Curry, what will you remember most from this Olympics on the basketball court?
Yeah, besides Steph, obviously, for me, it was this was before on the court still, but it was the pregame routines. Like, you see the cameraman on the sideline before the ball goes up. You can see LeBron do the chalk toss, Steph do his little sprint down to the end of the baseline. Tatum, we're good. Tatum do the ear tug. Like, that was really cool to see all those guys doing their thing, their pregame rituals before the game started. And I heard someone say, like, this was a great way to cap, like, this generation of basketball. It was a great finale to sort of end this generation, because these guys aren't coming back to the Olympics in 4 years. KD, Steph, Bron, they're not coming back.
I know KD has left it open. He's like, we don't know, but I'm with you. I don't think.
Yeah, for me, it was just seeing those pregame routines and, like, really taking it in and being grateful for the opportunity to, like, watch these guys at such a high level.
Yeah, these are the greatest basketball players on the planet, and that's kind of where my most memorable thing is. Like, honestly, it's the whole, like, this whole group and the whole Olympics as a whole. Like, for all these countries that participated, like, the amount of NBA players, it truly just, we always say how much of an international game it really is, but this is the time to show it. And every single team, almost pretty much every single country, was super competitive. Even Serbia was almost upset us. France almost upset us. Like, this isn't just closed off that USA is just going to dominate every single game like we have in the past. Like, I just absolutely love the competitiveness and the quality of basketball we're getting. I forget what reporter or ESPN person said it, but it was like, that final game was probably one of the highest quality basketball games we've seen in a long time.
I think it was D Wade. I thought D Wade said that.
It might have been D Wade.
Yeah, I mean, it really was incredible to see that, level of action with those type of players on the floor all at the same time. Like, my moment, I mean, it's basically like that because for all of us, this generation of basketball has been led by Steph Curry, LeBron James, and Kevin Durant. And to see all of them on the same team, all working together, like, there was a play, it might have been in the fourth quarter, where it was a LeBron to Durant to Steph Curry play. And it's like, man, the three best players of our generation all working together, all still, maybe not at the peak of their powers, but still elite basketball players. That's what I'm going to remember the most. Just those three all being on the same team, working together to get this gold medal.
Yeah, those three guys touching the ball on one possession, like touching three greats' hands in the matter of like 5 seconds, 3 seconds, whatever. That's just incredible to have the opportunity to see that. My throw-in for the best moment would definitely be Joel's dunk, though, like his front flip somersault dunk. Because that was not only a crazy play that, like, you don't get to see, it was a exclamation point in the fourth quarter of a tight game that he just attacked a long closeout and forced his way to the rim and slammed.
Honestly, I have another dunk that's I would put as an honorable mention or something like that as a memorable moment, and it's someone getting dunked on for the U.S. Gershon Yabusele dunking on LeBron in that final game, in that tight of a game, in the gold medal match.
No.
My goodness. The cojones on that man.
The CIA took that play away.
The Mandela effect.
Yeah.
I was gonna say shout out to Gershon Yabusele because he was fantastic all tournament long for France. Obviously, Wemby, he struggled a bit offensively until this game. He was incredible. You saw how emotional he got after the fact that they had just lost, came so close. But shout out to those guys and Gershon Yabusele, who definitely balled out and definitely could get NBA offers to come over if he wants to come back.
Mm-hmm. Cav should sign him.
There is a possibility since Kenny Atkinson, was a French assistant coach. There is that direct connection potentially.
It'll be interesting to see if we can get it was USA and France in the gold medal game in 2006 or 2020 rather in Tokyo, 2024 in Paris, same thing. It'll be cool if we get a third rematch.
I was about to say France is going to be back. There's no shot, and Wemby's only going to keep getting better playing in the NBA. So he's going to be back with a force. I would not be surprised if he gets a gold medal in the next Olympics or maybe even the next one, because he'll be there for a while.
Especially since there's so many French players that are up the pipeline. Like you just looked at this last draft, all the French players that got drafted in the top 10 with Alex Sarr, Risa Shea, so on. Like there are so many guys that are going to be playing for them in 4 years.
I was going to say, even Koulibaly didn't have a good tournament at all, but he's still a super young player in the NBA. So he's even got a lot of time to grow.
Yes, sir.
Oh, what's the
We're
next
talking about Tatum now?
Yeah, let's go to that. So for whatever reason, the big storyline between games, between the USA Serbia to France game, the biggest storyline I heard was the fact that head coach Steve Kerr was not playing Jason Tatum. He wasn't getting run in the rotation. So my next question to you guys: Steve Kerr barely playing Jason Tatum in this whole Olympics is blank.
Yeah, I will start. To me, it's ESPN clickbait. It really is. ESPN, Sports Center, the last 5 to 10 years has just gone down so downhill, in my opinion, because it's all about clickbait. It's not. When I was growing up, we had the Sports Center, we had the Crawl. We actually saw basketball plays, sports highlights, and people talking about sports. And now it's just all about stories and headlines and get people talking. And there's no actual analysis going on. I digress. That really is just clickbait, though. Who are you going to play him over? KD, LeBron? I'm sorry. Jason Tatum wasn't even he was the third best player on the championship Celtics team, in my opinion. And sorry, you're not going to get over LeBron or KD. I'm sorry. I know he played in the championship game, which was good to see because I think it would have been more of a headline if he didn't play at all.
Yeah, my word was understandable. I heard a quote from Steve Kerr about, it's not what Tatum's not doing. It's more about how the other guys are playing together and not wanting to sort of mess up the cohesiveness and camaraderie of a group. So that's all that really needs to be said. It's understandable that you're not going to want to mess that up.
Yeah, I mean, I think understandable, maybe the right decision. I don't know if it's I don't think it's that controversial because they did get the gold medal. I don't think that they would have been more dominant if Tatum played, because then you would have had another incredible player than not getting the minutes there. I'm curious, if Kawhi Leonard was on the team instead of Derek White, because Kawhi was there, Derek White came late, would we still have this craze over Tatum not playing? Because you just said it, KD, LeBron, and then if Kawhi was there, there really is no debate if Tatum was not in the lineup because you have all those great players already in there. Kevin Durant was coming off the bench until this gold medal game. There really was not going to be a chance for him to play. If there was Kawhi too, it just probably wasn't going to happen that much.
No, it's a really good point. If Kawhi was there, it would just be another guy ahead of him.
Yeah, him and Halliburton would have been taking the same picture when you do a group, when you get an A on the group project, but you do nothing. Both of them taking a picture together if Kawhi was playing, because you can't not play Kawhi. One of the best defenders in the world.
Yeah, he would have fit perfectly on that team if he did play. But this Olympics, it was a lot of fun. Soon after the All-Star 5, which is basically just the all Olympic team, basically from this tournament, the all FIBA team. We've got Dennis Schroeder from Germany, Steph Curry, LeBron James from the USA, Victor Wembanyama from France, and Nikola Jokic from Serbia, all making the team. Are you guys surprised with any of these names being on this first list?
Not at all.
Schroeder, Curry, LeBron, Wemby, Jokic. Nope, sounds right.
Yeah. Schroeder, obviously they lost to France in the semifinal or whatever. But Schroeder still was the leader of that dominating team in the group stage. Jokic was dropping triple doubles and led them to a bronze medal over Germany. Wemby was in the gold medal match and was by far the best player because they couldn't even play Rudy Gobert in that last game. And then obviously LeBron and Steph, we've talked about them the whole time. There's nobody else you can you can make a case for some people to maybe be on that list, but you're not taking any of those guys off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're definitely not taking those guys off the list. Now, LeBron James did win the MVP of the Olympics. That did come out as well. Are you guys surprised with that at all? Because in these last few games that really mattered the most, I mean, LeBron was solid. I mean, in the gold medal game, he turned the ball over a lot, or maybe I might be confusing the games.
No, he did.
I remember him having some rough turnover games, and it's not like he was the best player. Are you guys surprised that LeBron did win the MVP of this?
No, because it's basically what it's set up for. It's you create the award to create a story, so you give it to LeBron James. But I would also, I think this is a non-controversial thing that Steph was objectively better than him in the last two games where everything was on the line. Which is more valuable to your team?
It's almost like Steph Curry is a good clutch player.
I was thinking when he was going off LeBron did have a triple-double against Serbia in the semifinal game. And, they needed every bucket. They only won by 4. It took 30 from Steph and a triple-double from Bron to just win by 4. But, yeah, he had a lot of turnovers. And, the cohesiveness, the cohesion, he wasn't on the same page as all those guys all the time. I mean, you can't really ask him to be. But just in watching, who had the bigger impact in the last two games, it was obviously Steph.
Yeah. I'm not surprised. In my opinion, the only other person who could probably get it, the MVP, was probably Jokic, just because of him carrying Serbia to win a bronze medal, him dropping a triple-double. LeBron also dropped the triple-double. Steph, he was okay until those last two games where he was absolutely phenomenal. So, as a whole, I don't think you can do it. And Jokic had more of a complete Olympics, like LeBron, who I think I saw he still led the U.S. or the Olympics in rebounds and assists or something like that. He was still leading in categories that mattered. When you watched LeBron play, he was still driving the lane. Nobody could stop him if he drove the lane and wanted to get a shot. But especially in those last two games, when Steph's hitting 9 threes and 8 threes, you give the ball to Steph.
Yeah. For the Olympics, LeBron did finish averaging 14.7 rebounds, 8.5 assists. So he was still incredible. It's been like this for so many years where LeBron 14, 10 and 6, but it was that really a good game. It's incredible numbers, especially on a team with that much talent. So yeah, it was a great Olympics, great to have all that basketball. And now we've got a little while until we have NBA basketball back. But we did get some big news over the last week, some news that we kind of expected coming, and it was the Utah Jazz extending forward Lauri Markkanen for 5 years, $268 million, which makes him untradeable for this entire season. He was one of the highest, best players that was on the market this offseason to potentially get moved. So the Utah Jazz extending Lauri Markkanen is blank.
I was gonna say a pump fake because I think that they might hang on to him this year and then deal him. But I also, the other word I had was just unsettling, because it's like, well, the Jazz are committing to keeping Lauri as a part of their future with this deal, obviously, but they're terrible. The rest of their roster doesn't make sense to have like a top max player on your team. Everyone has to. I don't know if everyone has to have a max player. I'm like,
They don't have to.
most teams have at least one max guy, I would imagine.
Mhm.
So signing Lauri to this deal makes sense in that respect, but you have a ton of high draft picks from the last 2 years that all need to be on the court so you can figure out what kind of direction you want to go in. And like, Lauri is a star. He's not a top 15, or I don't even know if he's a top 20, but he might be in that 15 to 20 range. Man, he might be lower though, and that's kind of my point, is like, if you're going to have a group of young, untested, brand new, fresh faces who all need minutes to develop, to figure out your direction, then signing this deal, like, it's unsettling. It doesn't make sense. I don't understand why they would have, they're going in one direction with the signing and another direction with the roster.
Yeah,
Interesting. Joey, how do you feel about this?
it makes perfect sense what you're saying, but I would say it's like, my word is just good. Nothing crazy. Like, he's a great player. I loved him in Cleveland. If it wasn't for Donovan Mitchell, I wish he would have stayed. But like, you're absolutely right. They have a lot of young talent, but Lauri's a really, really good player. If he gets a better team around him and all these young guys start developing, he could be the best guy on a potential playoff contending Jazz team. We can talk about him later, because I know we're talking about shooting guards and small forwards too, but like we mentioned in the pre-pod lobby about how Sexton, he probably should get moved to open up some of those young guys to play as well. I think, to get a little more competitive, because I love Sexton as well, but for the Jazz team as a whole, especially with all that young guard talent that they got with Keontae George, Isaiah Collier they just drafted, like, I think they just need to move on from him. And if they start bringing in a little better, I think, overall, I think it's a good move. Nothing crazy. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets traded. Obviously not this year, but maybe in 2 years' time, maybe 3 years' time, before that contract is up. If their young guys aren't developing as fast as they want or as well to compete in that loaded West, then in a couple of years' time, I think they might trade Lauri Markkanen for a couple more picks.
I guess here's my point. If you're a Utah Jazz fan, are you very excited about the idea of having Lauri Markkanen be your best player on a contending playoff team? Like, that doesn't get me excited.
His defense is whack and not.
What I would be excited
Well,
for
so
is Cooper Flag.
so my word for this, I kind of have a differing opinion on. I think that this is actually very smart to do this, because from all the reports, I mean, this guy, first, these last 2 years since he got traded to Utah, he has blossomed into an incredibly versatile player. I mean, 25 points, 23 points per game, 8 boards, great shooter. This season he shot 40% from 3 on 8 attempts, which is the most attempts for any 7-footer in history. So he had a historic year last year. And for a guy like that, who, I mean, unfortunately, he's probably now, since Buddy Hield made the playoffs last year, Markkanen's probably now the oldest guy to never play in a playoff game. And I hope that sometime soon he can get that, off his name, because he would just be so good on a playoff team, because he doesn't need the ball. Like, a lot of his highlights are catch and shoot threes, or he just gets dunks from cutting back door.
Yep.
He can create his own shot if he needs to. I do understand the thought of potentially moving him. I was kind of hoping that, maybe Oklahoma City could make a big move for him during last season if they wanted to go all in. But according to The Athletic, there were 3 teams that were serious suitors for Markkanen over the last month. It was the San Antonio Spurs, which would have been decent.
You
Sacramento
think?
Kings, who ended up getting DeMar DeRozan, and the Golden State Warriors, and that was the big target. That was going to be the player that they tried to acquire. They've already tried to get Paul George. We've been talking about Steph Curry, how he's still so incredible that they need to do everything they can to still try to maximize what Curry can do for that team. But Golden State had quote unquote the most aggressive offer, and it was Moses Moody, multiple first round picks, pick swaps, and second rounders. Golden State didn't want to deal Brandon Pajemski. They're very high on him. He was a very good rookie for them last year. But I mean, if you're Danny Ainge and he's been known to do this, like if I'm not getting, Larry Markkinen should have better, a better return than Moses Moody in draft picks, at least in my personal opinion. So if you stand on your ground and keep him, it's not like Larry Markkinen is preventing this team from tanking and trying to get another high draft pick. Especially, I don't know if now is the time they should be trying to compete in the loaded Western Conference. You take a step back. You got Larry Markkinen locked up for this one year deal, or for the 1 year where he's locked up, can't get traded. You could kind of do the same thing that you've been doing the last 2 seasons and hope the lottery luck ends up on your side. And if like Cooper Flag or someone like that ends up on the Utah Jazz and things just don't work out positionally, then maybe he can get traded later. But I think for now, if the offers out there are just not what you want, then why would you trade him now?
No, I guess it makes sense. The only thing I would say is that if you are still trying to keep his trade market like plentiful, like you want to have good offers coming in, not this year but for next year, then having him, like, he is going to prohibit you from tanking in some ways because he's going to need to keep his trade value up, which is going to mean he's going to need to be on the court producing in order to keep that value up. So if he's on the court producing, you can't, that just goes against you tanking a little bit. But they're not, they can do both. You should be able to figure out a way to keep Lauri's trade value up for next year while also committing to being bad.
Yeah, I just don't see him getting that bad. So I don't think his trade value is going to go down that much, especially since he just signed his contract. Even if they do trade him in not at this year, but in 2 years. Like, even if they do that, like with the new CBA and all that kind of stuff, the salary cap's going to go up. So the contract is going to look better and maybe even more tradable. But I don't think his value is going to go down that much because I don't think he's going to tank that much. I think he's going to, even if he doesn't grow as much or get that much better statistically, he's going to stay around that same spot. And any team that wants to compete in the playoffs would want a guy like that. So they're still going to be willing. There's still going to be trade partners up there that are still willing to give. And I'm with you. I don't know if I would give a Moses Moody and first-round picks or second-round picks for Lauri Markkanen. I would at least want like a starting caliber player back along with some picks.
Not to mention, he's still only 26, 27 years old. Like, there's no reason that he couldn't be one of the better players on this Utah Jazz team. Like, it is a very young team. They are in a development phase. Like, Keontae George was he was a very surprising rookie last year. He was very, very solid, a lot better than I'm sure a lot of people expected. They have guys down the pipeline, like they drafted Cody Williams this year, who I know Nick is very high on, and he could be very solid. Walker Kessler had a bit of a step back his second year, but I think that he could still improve. He's shown promise as a shot blocker. I just don't think I like the situation that the Utah Jazz are in because also they. Oh, geez, it just froze. You guys got me now?
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
Okay, so Utah, I just think Utah is in a good position. It's not horrible. with Lowry marketing, he's definitely, improved. I don't think he's going to tank his value that much. And they're still, they're not going to make the playoffs. They'll still be able to rebuild with him, putting up his numbers. So I don't think
Yeah.
it's that bad.
I will say, since we're still talking
Um,
about the Jazz, I will say I got an update saying one of the guys I'm pretty sure Nick was high on is Kyle Filipowski. I just got an update saying they gave him a $12 million four-year contract, and he was a second-round pick. So just another guy, especially for like a Walker Kessler who did take a step back. Kyle Filipowski is a good man to have behind him.
Yeah, he might be. We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, all right, final fill in the blank headline before we get to these top 10 lists. The NBA, well, I guess they didn't officially release it. It was reported from Woj and Shams. A couple key days of the schedule. They always do this before they reveal the full schedule. They revealed the opening night and Christmas Day schedules. You see, on opening night, it's going to be Tuesday, October 22nd. Knicks at Celtics and the Timberwolves at the Lakers. And then you see all the Christmas Day matchups: Spurs, Knicks, Timberwolves, Mavericks, Sixers, Celtics, Lakers, Warriors, then Nuggets, Suns. So for you guys, the thing that stands out the most from this schedule release is blank.
For me, seeing Wemby in New York on Christmas Day is going to be spectacular. It's going. I always love, waking up, spend time with the family in the morning, and then turning on that 12 o'clock game in the Garden. And this year it's going to be Victor Wembanyama on Christmas Day at the Garden at 12 o'clock. That's going to be really fun, really special. I'm really excited for that. And then the other one for me is the Lakers-Warriors game because, after you go over to your family's house, you have dinner, whatever, sit down, boom, it's LeBron and Steph that you're tuning into. I can't wait.
You were just watching them play together, and it was beautiful. And then on Christmas, you get to watch them go at each other again. For me, it's got the opening day, the first game of the NBA season, New York Knicks at Boston. We wanted to see this in the conference finals, or at least I did, because I thought it was going to be really competitive. But obviously injuries. But ring night are most likely our last ever NBA TNT season opener. Full of emotions. It's just going to be an all-around great game, I think. Great night in general.
They have the new look Knicks with Mikal Bridges and a healthy Julius Randle heading into Boston, taking on the defending champs.
The Villanova Knicks, yeah.
That should be fun.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Miles, you got
definitely
anything you're looking forward to?
Definitely good what you guys both mentioned there.
Sorry.
I definitely agree with those. My two things. I've talked to you guys about this, and I've mentioned it in the group chat that the Oklahoma City Thunder fans should be angry. The team should feel disrespected that they do not have a game on either of these days. They were the best team in the West. They could be the favorites in the West this season, and they don't get a key game. I would feel disrespected if I were the Thunder. That was the first thing that I thought about with this.
Yeah, Giannis was unhappy too. He tweeted shortly after, no Christmas Day game. They should just add a OKC versus Milwaukee game.
I'd be fine with that.
I'd be fine with that too. But talking about teams that are actually on here, of course, the Knicks Celtics is going to be awesome on opening night. Wemby at the Garden is going to be sweet. But the Minnesota Timberwolves playing on both of these days is awesome when you consider, this is like the first time they are probably the most happy fans on here because they never get an opening night game in Los Angeles. That is huge for a franchise like the Minnesota Timberwolves that really didn't have a whole lot of success over the last 20 years until this past season. And it's all really thanks to Anthony Edwards. But shout out to the Timberwolves for getting these two, marquee spots on the schedule.
Yeah, 100%. Honestly, that Christmas Day, Minnesota at Dallas is going to be a fantastic game, I think.
I love to see Anthony Edwards winning.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, Western Conference Finals rematch. That is going to be a lot of fun to watch. Still a long way to go, though. So for now, we're going to go back to some top 10 lists. We're going to do 2 in this episode to make up for us missing the last one. We're going to go over our top 10 shooting guards and small forwards. If you missed the point guard one, go check it out. We agreed for the most part on certain things. Jackson having Steph Curry at number 7 was definitely the most egregious thing, I think.
Yeah.
But shooting guards and small forwards, this should be fun. I mean, the names at the top of both of these lists are just around the list. Not as stacked as the point guard position, but there are definitely still some very good, impactful, great players that are, on this list. So I guess first we'll start with the shooting guards. Who wants to go first with number 10?
I'll go first.
There you go.
Number 10, I have Jackson's favorite player, Jalen Green of the Houston Rockets.
Ooh.
You guys are reacting like he's not on your list, so that makes me feel
he is an
uneasy.
honorable mention for me. He is someone who just missed it, to be honest.
Yeah, there were 4 or 5 guys I had down here, but I had Jalen ahead of them, mostly because of the way he ended the year last year. Like when LP went out, he took off, started scoring a lot. He ended the year really well. He's still going into his 4th year. Hasn't gotten that contract that we've seen, Franz and Evan Mobley and the rest of his Cade get. But he's definitely going to have a lot to prove this year. And I think that he'll step up to the plate and hit one out of the park.
There you go. That's a good pick. Yeah, like he literally just missed my list. I know we were going to say we're going to do honorable mentions at the end as well, but he was one that would have been an honorable mention for me. He was one that just missed it. The guy I put ahead of him, though, Anthony Simons of the Portland Trailblazers. I love the Portland Trailblazers going into this season. I low-key think they can be a dark horse, like play-in, maybe even a playoff. Not playoff. Maybe a dark horse play-in contender. I'm not going to go that crazy yet. But I really like that young team. Scoot played great at the end of the year. And Anthony Simons, I'm looking at the stats right here. He was hurt a lot last year, so he only played up, I think it says 46 games, but he was scoring 22 and a half, 5.5 assists, shot 38.5% from the 3-point line. Very efficient from that. Like, to me, he's one of those guys who I'm putting him at 10 to give him that edge, just because I think he can still take another step up.
That dude needs to be in the dunk contest.
Facts. Incredibly athletic guy.
I think he's been in it before, actually.
Oh.
I think he was in it back in 2021, I want to say.
Oh yeah, 2021.
We need guys like him to be in the dunk contest, though.
He won it.
He's the champion. The first Portland Trailblazers to win the dunk contest is Anthony Simons. Sorry.
Yeah, I thought I remembered him being in the dunk contest. Yeah, Anthony Simons. I actually have him a little higher on my list.
Oh.
Because I've been a big fan of his and the Blazers. Like you, Joey, I like the Portland Trailblazers going into this season. I feel like no one is gonna talk about them. They're over, their win total currently is 21.5 games, and I don't understand how, because there's so much talent on this team on both ends of the floor. So I really like Anthony Simons.
I'm a believer in Chauncey Billups.
Oh yeah, they gotta show stuff with Chauncey Billups. But so we all have different guys at number 10. So Nick with Jalen Green, Joey Anthony Simons, Jackson had Austin Reeves.
He was in there for me. No, he was in my pool of guys.
He was in my late honorable mentions too. But he was lower end than all the guys that we've said so far. As Nick's out of here momentarily. My number 10, there's Nick. Let's get him back in here. It isn't a run in the paint episode unless that happens at least once.
You gotta have the lag out.
Exactly. But my number 10, Similar player to Jalen Green, a microwave scorer type of player. I have Cam Thomas at number 10.
Oh shoot, that's
Um,
high.
he improved his scoring a lot last season. Well, what was that, Nick?
I was just saying that's high. He wasn't even in my honorables.
He was an honorable for me.
Yeah, I wasn't sure really how to go with this number 10. Yeah, I wasn't really sure how to go with this number 10 spot. Cam Thomas, I give him a lot of props because, he is a bucket. He's a straight bucket. That's really all he's, out there to do is score the basketball. And he did it at a very high level. Jumped his points per game up like 10 points, I believe. So he was incredible this last season. But my main thing for him making the list, because I know it's probably a controversial thing that he's on the list, the fact that the Brooklyn Nets offense was so bad last year. Their half court offense was literally just Cam Thomas for the most part. I mean, besides Mikal Bridges, who had a bit of a down season, for the most part, it was basically Cam Thomas. He was like the only player that could create his own shot. And for, opposing defenses to know that going in, still, 22 points per game, 44% from the field, 36% from three, high volume score, but does it more efficiently than some other players in the league. So I'm excited to see the type of numbers he can put up when he's going to be like the only guy on the team really next year for the Brooklyn Nets. So that's why he made my list.
That's very true. He was an honorable mention for me. It's more of he averaged literally the same points as Anthony Simons at 22.5, but Simons just passed the ball more, averaged 5.5 assists to like, what is it? Cam Thomas is like, what, 3?
Yeah, like 2 to 3. Yeah, it isn't much.
Yeah, but Nick, did you say you have Austin Reeves on your list as well?
No, he was in my pool of guys that were honorables.
I don't want to dog on Goglin too much because he's not here, and when the pool tapes come out, everyone will dog on Goglin. But how do you put Austin Reeves on your top 10 above some of these guys? Man averaged 16 points, shot 36.5 and 48.5% from the field. Like, it's not bad, but like his 3-point percentage went down this year. His assists and rebounds numbers went down. His scoring went up a little bit, but like, so he's still improving. He's going to be on my list probably in a couple of years if he keeps on this trend of going upwards. But 16 points? Really? Some of these guys are the number one options on their team, like Cam Thomas. And Austin Reeves is playing with is like a fourth option.
Austin Reeves would be the number one option. That's too.
Yeah, I was gonna.
Like, I'm sorry, I just can't do that. Not above some of these other guys.
All right, let's move on to number 9. Joey, who you got at number 9?
Number 9, I have Devin Vassell for the
Nice.
Spurs. He had a fantastic last year. Where's his number? Oh, I didn't have it because I knew I was already putting him on my list. I actually had to move him a bunch of times because I had him higher and then realized he probably shouldn't be that high. However, had a fantastic year.
Jackson and I both also had him at number 9.
You both had Devin Vassell well? Nick, you too?
Nope.
Oh. But either way, efficient year. It's good.
We knew this. We knew he would have Devin Vassell higher.
Yeah.
No, he's not on my list.
Oh. He's not on your list.
He started at number 10, and then he got bumped off when I realized I forgot Bradley Beal. So
that's fair.
He had to get bumped off.
That's fair.
Wow.
And my reasoning for putting Jalen Green above him. I'm very high on Devin, but I guess just it came down to like last year, at the end of last year. I think Jalen has a bit more like potential at this point in his career than Devin.
Yeah, let's see. His points, he was on the one, he was 12th voted for most improved player. And I think it's showing he had 19.5, which is an upgrade. He assisted more. He shot 37% from 3, and he shot his best from the field by like 4%, shot 47% from the field this year. Imagine what he's going to do with an actual point guard next year in Chris Paul. Imagine what that Spurs team in general.
Solid. He was like the only.
Sorry,
he was like the only player that really knew how to play with Wemby last year, besides Trey Jones. Like those two were like the only players that actually figured out how to play with Wemby. And he was very, very solid. I mean, 19 points, 4 assists, 4 rebounds. You mentioned the shooting. I just think, he's just a solid player. He's just a solid player that I think can affect, that I think can affect winning. The Spurs won't be winning a bunch this year. At least I don't think so. But when they eventually get to the point where they are contending, Devin Vassell will be a key piece to that on both sides of the floor. Because coming into the league, I'm pretty sure this guy was mainly known for his defense, and he's come in and, nearly 20 points per game each of the last 2 seasons. He could definitely make that jump this year.
I had Desmond Bane at number 9. Averaged like 24, 4, and 5.5 assists last year. Was asked to do a little bit more with Ja. He played point guard a bit, played some small forward for him. He's best when the Grizzlies are at full strength and they're at their best. So I think he's going to have a really solid year this year next alongside Ja again. Get back to his shooting guard main position for, most of the time that he's out there. And he's just an off-ball threat, catch and shoot guy that knows his role and does it very well. So that's why I got him at number 9.
I have him only one spot higher since I'll just move on to 8, I guess. But Desmond Bane for me is 8. His 3-point percentage went down this year from 40% to 38% while shooting almost two more threes a game because nobody else was around him to help. He had to do everything, and he was hurt. So honestly, if he played more games, he could even go higher on my list. It was really just Grizzlies as a whole were not great this year. I'm excited for this coming year for the Grizzlies.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to try to figure out I wanted to rank Desmond Bane because, he didn't play a whole lot, 42 games. It was mainly due to injury, but the whole Grizzlies team was injured. But he did play very, very well. I mean, as the number one, ball handler, really, with all the injuries. He played very well. 24 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds. He stepped up in that number one role. So I have him a little bit higher. I actually just realized Jackson and I have the exact same 1 through 9.
Wow.
Really?
On our list. So I'll be speaking for both Jackson and I guess the rest of this list.
So who do you have at 9?
Or 8.
So we'll see.
Or 8, rather.
Because 9 is Devin Vassell. We both had it.
Who do you guys have at 8?
So you had Desmond Bane. Jackson and I had Anthony Simons at 8. We had him higher. We had him pretty high for this list.
Sorry, I haven't given
Anthony
my
Simons.
8.
All I can do is speak for myself here. But Anthony Simons, I really like his game and how he's steadily improved. Like maybe it's because he's in Portland and he played with Damian Lillard, but he reminds me of a young Dame. Like with just the way he plays, the way he shoots the basketball from range, the way he takes a lot of them. He reminds me of the next Damian Lillard potentially if he improves. He's getting a ton of reps now of, being, the main ball handler there until Scoot Henderson develops more this season. And he developed the playmaking. Like every year of his career, he's gotten better. And, I just think he's solid. His numbers were better than Devin Vassell, and he does more than Cam Thomas, and those were the two guys below him. So that's why I have him at number 8. It kind of was a default there for Anthony Simons.
Yeah, he definitely.
I still haven't given my 8. Mine's Derek White.
Whoa!
Derek White.
Derek White at number 8.
Yep, that's what it says.
U.S. gold medalist Derek White at 8.
Oh gosh!
Why?
To me, this just sounds like a Steph Curry at 7, but not as disrespectful because it's Derek White.
You just bagged on Austin Reeves for averaging 16 points a game, and Derek White averages less than that.
Yeah, but he was like the 4th best player on an NBA championship team, or one of the most, not the 4th best, Drew Holiday. Sorry. But he was he was just as important as anybody else on that team. Like, man,
He's the
was
fifth best player on his own team. And you guys are bagging on me for putting him at number 8.
dude is
I'd even say Derek White was better than Drew Holiday in the playoffs.
I don't know, man. Derek White is when I guess when I look at it, when I was doing my list, I looked at their value to their team and how well their team did as well. And because of how valuable Derek White was to that championship winning Celtics team record, or like having the best record in the NBA as well. I don't know why I'm talking. Nick, why is he at 8 for you?
I rank them as the top 10 best basketball players at the shooting guard position. Not impact on their team, not who's the best defender, not who's getting 25 points a night. The best players in the league according to position. So I have him at number 8 because these next couple guys that I'm going to mention, they do more. They shoot it a little bit better. They, I don't know. They do more. I just think that's where he's at. I guess I can't really make the case without giving you my top 7 guys ahead of him.
Miles, do you have any reaction to that? I want to hear it because I did a lot of talking.
We'll get to Derek White when he comes up on our list a little bit later, because for at least for me, he's a lot higher on the list. So I guess now we'll go to number 7. And I guess I'll go first on this one. 7 is where I have Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal, for as much, as the Phoenix Suns, it was a rough first year with all of them together. There were so many injuries, and there was such a big disappointment once they got to the playoffs. Similar to Devin Booker, Bradley Beal was pretty good. I mean, for this being his first season I guess this is the first time really, I guess, since he was a rookie, maybe not even, where he was the third option on his team. Like, he had to take a brand new role this season, and he had the most efficient year of his career, which I didn't even realize until looking at the numbers for this list. He still put up 18 points, 5 assists, 4 boards per game, 51% from the field, 43% from 3 is really, really, really good. So shout out to Bradley Beal. I think that this year, now that Phoenix actually has a legit point guard, they should be better. But I mean, I still have some questions about the fit of all those players in that starting lineup, but we'll get to that when we get to the team previews. As far as individual players, I thought Bradley Beal had a very solid season. So that's why I have him at number 7.
I put CJ McCollum at number 7. Solid shooting guard for the Pelicans. Or he's a point guard?
He was a point guard.
Oh. Well,
yes.
My bad.
You're good.
Rated him out of position.
It's all good.
Let's just move on.
Mine, number 7, will probably raise some questions and will completely just go against my horrendous Austin Reeves take that I had now, apparently. I have Dante DiVincenzo at 7.
What?
Why?
Man was a spark plug for that. It was when nobody else could get it going. You could always rely on him. Again, I take back my Austin Reeves argument because I guess I forgot Dante DiVincenzo also only averaged 15.5 points, but the man also shot 40% from 3. So I don't know. Knicks were a great team. He was a huge part of that. They're now the Villanova Knicks. He's a Villanova man, I guess. This one is the one, I guess, is the big controversy for me. I knew I would have one, but as much as I hate the Knicks, I do have to give Dante credit.
It's worse than Derek White already.
Honestly, it might be.
I would agree with it. I mean, I was thinking about putting him at number 10, and I thought that might be crazy.
Yeah, he's in my
he made my list.
Again, I told you before in the pre-pod lobby, I'm missing somebody. I know it is.
I already.
When we go through my shooting guard list, I'll know who it was.
Sorry, I messed up your seat.
I mean, DiVincenzo did have a very good year.
3.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists, 1.5 steals, 15.5 points. Shot 40% from three, averaging 8.5 threes, which is basically almost 3 full threes more than a game than he did the previous year. So
Yeah, I mean,
with
most
more
threes in
and shooting
Knicks
better,
history.
yeah. I don't know. With this Knicks team, I think it'll even go up more next year with the team around him.
Very, very, very interesting. All right, Nick. Well, who's your number 6?
Bradley Beal.
Okay.
I agree with that. I had Bradley Beal at 6.
Nice. Okay. You guys got anything more about Bradley?
Nah.
Not really. Went under the weather or under the radar because the Suns stunk and the project didn't work. But I don't know. Bradley Beal still had an extremely efficient year, better than he was the last 2 years in Washington, and played more games this year. When usually his knock before was he just couldn't stay healthy. So huge props to Bradley Beal this year.
Yeah. And then my number 6 is where I had Desmond Bane. I guess this ranking over Bradley Beal, it's kind of unfair because this is kind of basing it off of like, okay, if Desmond Bane, we've seen him with other star players, and the Grizzlies, were number 2 seeds for back-to-back years when he was spectacular, and it was more of a struggle when Beal was a secondary guy. So that's kind of why I have Bane over Bradley Beal, and his numbers were higher. But I mean, these guys are kind of all in the same tier. I mean, they're so interchangeable. You really could make a case for anything at this point.
Yeah, until we get to the top 3.
Yeah, until probably the top 3. So now we're in the top 5. This is where I had Derek White.
Okay. I see my misstep.
I also had Derek White at 5.
I had DeJounte Murray.
Oh, at number 5?
Yes.
Okay.
Miles, do you want to start off talking about Derek White?
Yeah, sure. I mean, Derek White, the ultimate role player. Like, he was so ultimate of a role player that he could have made the All-Star game this year. I mean, he had an All-Star type role for the Celtics, turned himself into an elite 3-point shooter. When you look at the numbers, throwing up 7-8 threes per game in the regular season and playoffs at 40%. And he's got one of the quicker releases in the league nowadays, which is crazy because when he got to Boston, the whole narrative was like, all right, he's a very solid defender. Can he shoot? Yes, he can. He is a great 3-point shooter. Not to mention, he is the best shot blocking guard in the NBA. You can make the case that he is the best defensive guard in the NBA. And for that, I mean, that just matters a whole lot to me because, some of these other guys, like their points per game might be higher, but it's like elite scoring or like elite defense. Like, obviously, if you're a great defender like Derek White, the points aren't going to always add up. But he, the skills that he has on the basketball floor kind of equals out to be, more than than the guys that I have, below Derek White, at least in my opinion.
No, I may have overcorrected from our role player draft when I took Derek White with the first pick under 20 points per game. And you guys were like, oh, what's Nick doing? Drafted Derek White first. So I may have done a slight overcorrect, ranking him 8 in shooting guards.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going to say, you mentioned his defense. He is an elite defender. Man was on the all defensive second team and was, what was it? 8th in the defensive player of the year voting. And I'm looking at the voting awards for the all defensive teams, and they're showing the stats. He averaged the most points on that entire all defensive team. Usually when you got those elite defenders, the rest of them are averaging around 10 to 12 points a game. He's averaging 15 while still shooting 40% from 3. To me, the defense is a huge part of it because if you can shoot effectively, that's all good. But if you can do that while still giving 110% on defense and being elite at it, you get a huge boost.
Just in case it's still
Derek
as well as winning a championship.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that also is a decent boost too. But look, Derek White as a guard, he's in this shooting guard list. What 6'4", 6'5"? You'd probably give Derek White 6'4", and he
It
was
says 6'4",
12th,
yeah.
or excuse me, 13th in the league. 6'4", and he was 13th in the league in blocks per game. Like that is incredible stuff for Derek White.
What I was gonna say is on 2K, I recently did my league like fantasy draft. So I took the Cavs and all the players were gonna be fantasy drafted. I went Vic, Paolo, Derek White, top 3 picks.
It's a great team right there.
So just in case there's any unclear air about my feelings towards Derek White, I want to make it very clear that I'm a full Derek White supporter. And I may have overcorrected by ranking him low in this ranking.
And if you couldn't tell from me, after dogging Austin Reeves for only averaging 15 points but still having 2 15-point scores on my list, I just hate LA, clearly.
All right, moving on to number
DeJounte
4.
Murray. So I've got him at 4. Jackson has him at 4. Nick, you had him at 5. What about DeJounte Murray? Let's talk about him.
DeJounte Murray. I don't know. Miles, you know DeJounte.
DeJounte, for him, the Atlanta Hawks were my biggest disappointment last season. And DeJounte was, one of the big reasons for that, even though he is number 4 on this list. He was great offensively this year, horrible defensively for what he used to, be with San Antonio. And there's a reason why he has now since been traded, like we all, wanted to see this offseason. But his offense this year was spectacular. He, has turned himself into a very good offensive player, good scorer, good shooter, and a clutch player as well. Made several clutch buckets, some game winners, some buzzer beaters for the Hawks this year. So, for as much as the Hawks struggled, DeJounte still had a great year offensively. 22 points, 5 boards, 6 assists. Career high, basically career high from 3. I mean, he had some years where he shot higher than 36%, but the volume now at 7 attempts per game. He has improved a lot, but it's kind of gone one way then the other. But he still had a very good year, and it was still good enough for him to be a top 4 shooting guard in my opinion.
I also had DeJounte at 4. His defense was atrocious, but you're right. His second highest 3-point percentage in his career. I guess I'm looking at it. You could say that his rookie year in San Antonio, he shot 39, but played 38 games only and only averaged 0.8 3-point attempts a game. While this year he averaged 7, and he still shot 46% from the field in general. So
yeah, exactly.
Offensively, he was really, really good.
I'm just happy I actually had him on the list this year because I'm pretty sure I left him off last year.
Mm. Who's your 4, Nick?
My 4.
Oh, wow.
J-Dub, Oklahoma City Thunder. Jalen Williams.
Okay, that's where this list got skewed because he is a power forward.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I don't know what I'm looking at, bro, because
OKC's shooting guard was Josh Giddey this year.
Because it would have been Josh Giddey. Basketball Reference is so weird with their positions. No, even they had him as a power forward.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, guys. I really dropped it.
It's all good.
Let's continue.
It's okay. At the end of this, we can just move some of your honorable mention guys up. Just move them up 2 spaces, and then you have your list.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
So, I mean,
just recreate my
it's
whole
all
list.
good. It's all good. So now, number 3 on the list. Joey, you go first. I have a feeling we all have the same guy.
I have Kyrie Irving.
Yep.
Oh, I got Donovan. I like Kyrie better.
Cavs hater.
I got
Take
Donovan
that jersey
Green.
down behind you.
What?
You don't deserve to be a Cavs fan if you're choosing a guy who left us.
Who won us a championship?
That wasn't this year.
What? Okay, that
wasn't
doesn't
this
even matter.
year.
What
That
in the
wasn't this year.
Um,
No, I'm kidding. You're
Whoa.
fine. I love Kyrie.
No,
too.
dude.
I still love Kyrie.
Kyrie's better for me. Kyrie's better than Donovan Mitchell. I said it, and I believe it. He's just better.
Because they made the finals?
No, because he's better with the ball. Like, he's better at creating shots for other players. He's better. I'd argue he's better finishing at the rim because I think Kyrie's probably the best finisher or one of the best in the league. Kyrie's a great defender. Donovan, I mean, I would put Kyrie and Donovan on level pegging defensively.
Kyrie Irving, a great. I don't know if I've ever heard that before.
Yes, yeah, we've talked about it on the podcast. Him playing up at half court line during the playoffs, staying in front of, like, checking Conley and Ant at times if he got switched onto him. He wasn't great at checking Ant, but he's a good on-ball defender. And if you think Donovan is a freaking good defender, then I got some news for you. He doesn't try. He doesn't play hard.
We have been watching different Cavalier basketball last season.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
If that's the opinion on Donovan Mitchell, then that we have been watching different basketball this year. Interesting.
For some reason on the
Yeah,
versus
I mean Kyrie
finder,
Irving. I mean, he had a. What was that, Joey?
I was gonna say on the versus finder, it's just not working. It's showing like total games on the year or something like that because it says that even though I picked the same season, it says Donovan Mitchell played 79 games and Kyrie only played 58. I'm like, what versus finder?
I love Kyrie Irving. I love watching him play. I thought he did have a really good, regular season last year. In the playoffs, he was okay. He was better. Like, one of the big things that we talked with his play between first halves and second halves, where he would kind of wait to settle into the game, and some games it just wouldn't work and he wouldn't settle in, especially after that Clippers series. It was kind of hit or miss with Kyrie Irving. You would either get a 35-point game or you would get like a 12 to 15-point game. Donovan Mitchell in the playoffs, you knew exactly what you were getting. Back-to-back 40-point games, including the 50 points in Game 6, 50 in Game 6, 39 in Game 7. He was just incredible throughout the whole season. He was really the only Cavs offense that they could, go to consistently. He was one of their only consistent players throughout the whole year. Both of them were very, very solid players. I just think Donovan Mitchell, as the number one guy and having so much on him, he was special this year. He was very special.
Donovan Mitchell had 13 points in Game 3 versus Orlando, and he had 18 in Game 4 versus Orlando this year. I combined 2 for 10.
Okay, Kyrie Irving had a 9-point game, a 9-point game, a 12-point game.
I'm saying you can make that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
When Donovan came back from injury, he stunk.
Yeah, I'm looking at now that I have both Basketball Reference, Donovan Mitchell averaged more points, more assists, and more rebounds, but also averaged more turnovers and was not as efficient as Kyrie was shooting the ball. So, and both played 55 and 58 games on the year. So both same health-wise and averaged very similarly. Like Kyrie's averaging 25.5, 5 and 5 while shooting 41% from 3 and basically 50% from the field is insane.
Yeah, I mean, Kyrie, he had a very, very good year.
Like, this is the Kyrie that I watched back in Cleveland, and I love it.
This is a win because instead of comparing Anthony Edwards and Donovan, now we got Kyrie and Donovan. So that feels a little bit better.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we're to me, Donovan's number 2. So we have to compare Kyrie and Donovan. I'm sorry. I wanted to go into this year saying Donovan was number one because I'm a Cavs fan and he did play fantastic, but Ant is another level.
Yeah, and he was more healthy. He led his team, further. I mean, it's definitely Anthony Edwards was special, and there he has the Minnesota Timberwolves on marquee game. Like, there's a reason for that, and it's him. He was incredible.
Are we all in agreement that Donovan, or you said you had Kyrie too, but did you and Goglin have Kyrie too, or Donovan too?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. And then
and then Anthony Edwards number one. Definitely makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I knew going in the rest of the
Definitely
list would be
even guy.
controversial, especially with my Dante DiVincenzo. But the top three I figured was kind of set in stone.
Yeah, the top three for sure.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, small forward, this might go a little quicker. Well, I don't know. Small forwards was definitely tough at the bottom as well. I think that the top was easier than the shooting. Well, I don't know. It's kind of tough. I just think that the bottom was, just like shooting guards, was difficult to kind of form the 10, 9, 8. There are a bunch of pool of guys like the shooting guards that you could go with.
One guy I want to say before we go on the small forward, because we didn't say his name at all in shooting guards. I was throwing him around in the mix with DiVincenzo and AR. Was KCP. I think he's in that 10 to 15 range.
Definitely, for sure. I would put him there.
Yeah, and had a great defensive year, great 3-point shooter. Definitely could have been in the running for all defensive teams. I'm surprised that he didn't end up making the list. The fact that he's never made one is kind of surprising, but KCP definitely a underrated guy in the league.
Excited to see him in Orlando Magic.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Paolo's not a small forward, right?
No. Franz Wagner's their small forward.
All right. Let's start there. Did he make any of your guys' list?
He did.
Is he your number 10?
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah, he's
higher. My number 10
he's higher.
My number 10 is RJ Barrett.
Man, dude, I'm not confident anymore. I don't have either of those guys on my list.
Oh boy.
At number 10, I put Michael Porter Jr.
Okay. I put him higher, but that's good.
Wow, Michael Porter Jr. did not make my list. He was Jackson's 10th.
Look at that, Nick. You and Jackson agree.
That's not good.
That is hilarious. My number 10 was Brandon Miller.
Ooh.
He was an honorable mention for me. I was looking at him. He was just missed my list.
He definitely could have been an honorable mention. Wait, what was that?
Huh?
I don't know why. Okay. To the viewers, my internet for some reason keeps cutting in and out, and that's why stuff keeps blowing out. But my number 10 was Brandon Miller. Definitely were a couple of guys that could have made this spot, but I put Brandon Miller here because just a great rookie season. I've said it before. If Victor Wembanyama was not in this draft class, we would have been talking about Brandon Miller and what an incredible rookie season he had for the Hornets on both ends of the floor. Of course, the Charlotte Hornets, there's not much you can do with you're on the Hornets, especially last season. He really, the winning thing, that's definitely a thing that, you can use against him for that argument. But like I said, it's kind of tough when you're a rookie in that situation. I thought he made the most out of the situation for his rookie year.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you had him that high, honestly. There's a couple other guys in here that didn't make my list that Brandon Miller didn't really cross my mind.
Yeah, Brandon Miller was an honorable mention for me. I was definitely looking at him during the Versus Finder. But to me, I had RJ Barrett. Averaged 20 points as, I guess you could call it really the second option on that team with Scotty Barnes on that, especially with the Raptors the whole year. But he averaged 49.5% from the field, 36 from three, Man played really well on a Toronto team that does not have a lot of talent and a lot of upside. But he was a very big bright spot and a good trade that they got him back.
Yup. All right, on to number 9. My number 9 was Mikal Bridges, the newest New York Knick.
Same here.
I also put Mikal Bridges at 9.
Yay.
Oh, let's go.
What about Jackson?
He had his boy Jaden McDaniels at number 9.
I was going to dog him, but I do probably have him in the next 5 off. I was looking at him.
Didn't even cross my mind.
So I guess I can't dog him too much, but
I mean, I would put like Kuminga and Hart over both of them.
I would
Josh
put
Hart did cross my. He did not make my list, but he definitely crossed my mind for that number 10 spot, even because of his playoffs.
I know I mentioned a lot of honorable mentions, but Josh Hart was honestly my number 11. Like he's still on my verses with everybody. Like I almost put him there, and he didn't even average 10 points a game.
All right, we all had Bridges.
Yep.
Yeah, we all have Mikal Bridges. I mean, we know the type of player that he can be. The GFF kind of made it tough. I mean, I know there were some of us had some high hopes for the Brooklyn Nets and for Mikal Bridges.
Yeah.
He was the favorite last year to win Most Improved Player.
Yeah.
But you know, he was just okay. I mean, his defense kind of stepped off a little bit. I mean, we thought that the Brooklyn Nets would be he weren't. Now he's in a much better, situation there in New York, and he should be able to get back to that kind of Phoenix Suns type level where he was kind of like Derek White. He was the best role player in the game at the time when he was traded.
I as much as I hate New York and the Knicks, I am very excited to see him back with his boys because he did not look right with the GFF. He definitely had a down year. Definitely wasn't the Mikal we knew. So him being back with the Villanova Knicks and all his boys, I think he's gonna have a bounce back year. But still crack the top 10 based off of last year.
Yeah. I mean, he still was very solid. So number 8 for me, that's where I had RJ Barrett, which could be, a bit high. It's probably the highest that we, have him because Joey, you had him at 10.
Mm-hmm.
RJ Barrett, it's, I think a few episodes ago we were kind of talking about RJ Barrett, how like it was a pretty rough, year for him, just personally off the court. Had the passing of his younger brother, getting traded. Is never easy going from, a very good Knicks team to a Raptors team that is in, transition period. But even with that, in the games that he was able to play for Toronto, he was fantastic efficiency-wise. Like you mentioned the numbers, for overall in the season, but for Toronto in 32 games, 22 points, 6 boards, 4 assists, 55% from the field, 39% from 3. Like he might be, the most efficient guy that we have on this list, which you would not expect for a guy like RJ Barrett. He completely skyrocketed his efficiency. And I'm excited to see how he is, for the Raptors next year. I don't know how, well they'll do as a team. I don't really know how to feel about their team just yet. But his numbers, I'm excited to see if they can stay around that, 50% range, or if it'll go back down to, the like 40% that we saw in New York throughout most of his career.
I think him playing in Canada, being back home, and playing with that team, I think it's just a good situation. So overall, even if they're not that great of a team, I'm happy for RJ Barrett that I think it's just a really good situation for him. They have some more pieces they got to fill, but I think him and Scotty Barnes are a good duo. Nick, who do you have 8?
For sure. Well, who do you guys have at number 8?
I got Brandon Ingram, the guy who's hot in the trade market. BI. One thing about BI is I kind of would like to see him go back to shooting more threes this year. He averaged up over 6 attempts per game in 2020 and 2021, but the last 2 years he hasn't shot more than 4 a night. So I'd like to see him boost those numbers back up a little bit. He had a down year, I guess you could say, but he's a really fantastic guy to have with the ball in your hands. Like, fantastic scorer, and yeah, I really like BI.
We all wanted him in Cleveland, I know, or at least I did.
He was definitely a hot, guy on the market.
Yeah. Number 8, I think you said you left him off your list, but I have Michael Porter Jr. Man,
wow. Okay.
Like, look, just with the people I was comparing, he shot the best 3-point percentage wise. He averaged 16.5, 7 boards, which is the second highest, just next to Josh Hart, who we know is a rebounding machine on the people I was trying to compare. 48.5% from the field. And on a Denver Nuggets team that second seed, right? Like,
well, yeah, really
like
good.
he
Denver
really
Nuggets
is like that third scoring option on a very elite Denver Nuggets team that won a championship 2 years, like not this year, but the year before. So to me, he's still a very important player. Still had a very efficient year. So put him on my top 10.
Shout out to Swing the Rock Porter.
1.5 assists. That's why he's not higher.
That's right. Well, so Jackson at number 8 has the guy that I have at number 7, and that is Franz Wagner from the Orlando Magic. Just a guy that, was a very impactful player, second best player for the Magic. Probably the most overachieving team in the Eastern Conference, making the 5th seed. Had an up and down playoff series against the Cavs. The Game 7 is going to leave a bad taste for a lot of people with Franz Wagner, but overall, very good year. Excited to see how he's able to build off of it.
Just got paid this offseason. He was one of those that got that max contract.
But no medal.
But no medal. Sorry, Germany. But he also did have a very good Olympics too. So
he did.
Shout out Franz. But I also had him at 7. Very he needs to get that 3-point shooting percentage up, and then he can crack my top 5 if all the numbers stay the same. But the dude shot 28%, it says, from the 3-point line this year. Like, that is
he was
not
the worst.
Good.
Yeah. He was the worst high volume shooter in the whole league.
Yeah.
At that percentage with the attempts.
You got to put Franz in for me too at number 7 because I forgot that I had Tatum on there, and so put Franz in.
Oh yeah, you said you put Tatum in, and he's technically a power forward. Yeah, that power forward list, everybody, if you're, it's going to be stacked.
Moving on to number 6, I'll start.
Okay.
Another guy on a new team, that's DeMar DeRozan. I got DeMar DeRozan at number 6. Just got traded to Sacramento. Sorry, I'm blanking.
Yeah, had a very. That's also who Jackson had at number 6. For me, this 4 through 6 was very interchangeable. And it was very, very tough, but I do have DeMar higher on my list. 6 is where I actually had Brandon Ingram.
Mm-hmm.
This is just going to be a weird season for him. We've talked about him a lot this offseason with the potential of him getting traded, but it sounds like they are going to keep him on the roster for this season. So I'm wondering how his numbers will look. Nick, you were mentioning wanting to see his 3-point volume go up. I'm wondering how he will play now that they have DeJounte Murray, who I referenced this when we reacted to the trade. I feel like Brandon Ingram is just the taller version of DeJounte Murray. I feel like they're the exact same offensive player. So I wonder how those two guys are going to fit together. But just going off last season, for it being, a down season, still put up 21, 5, and 6 on 49% from the field. Still very, very good numbers for the Pelicans.
Mm-hmm.
At number 6, I have Lauri Markkanen, the guy we were talking a lot about earlier. I have Lauri Markkanen there at number 6, just outside the top 5. Brandon Ingram for me is 5. So, but Lauren Markkinen had a fantastic year.
Okay.
So I know you guys are probably going to talk about him later because he's probably higher. But to me, I put in a lot of factors. You guys have heard me say it a bunch of times. Winning, defense, a bunch of stuff.
Why isn't LAURI a power forward? He's 7 feet.
Because they have Walker Kessler as their center, and their power forward is John Collins. Yeah, John Collins.
See, because now I have 5 guys. Now there's 6 guys and only 5 spots.
Lauren Markkinen played small forward for the Cavs.
Oh boy.
Remember,
Yeah,
we had
they
the
would
3
throw
7-footers?
in.
You guys have to be missing someone too. Then I don't know. Let's just keep going. Markkinen's not on my list. Let's move up. I was gonna put him on the power forward probably, or like he's 7 feet. Whatever.
It's all right. Yeah, I don't know. Lauren Markkinen had a fantastic year. I had Brandon Ingram. We talked about him already. He's at my 5. I have my top 6 guys all comparing, and I don't know. Lauri had the most rebounds and the field goal percentage, and then Brandon Ingram averaged the most assists and blocks on the top 6 small forwards. So I don't know. They at least lead in some categories in the top 6 small forwards that I have. So you got to put them there.
All right, I'm at number 5, right?
Yep.
Yeah, definitely fair.
All right,
Yes.
I guess Laurie Markkinen isn't on my list, but I put Paul George here. Another guy on a brand new team.
Ooh, okay.
A little low for me, but okay. At least he's the top 5.
Well, who? Oh, okay, yeah. All right.
Yeah, I guess a lot of these guys are just interchangeable.
They really are.
I guess now 2 through 7. There are a lot of different things you can go with. Like Paul George, like I've got him higher because he had a really good regular season, but you could say he had a bad playoffs, and that's why he's lower. And I couldn't disagree with you.
Yeah,
like,
that's perfectly fair.
I can definitely understand.
Yeah. What about you and Goglin? Who did you guys have?
So Jackson had Brandon Ingram at number 5. My number 5, I actually had Jimmy Butler at number 5. This may be controversial. He's number 5.
Oh, really?
Dang, dude. Forgot Jimmy Butler.
You were missing people. You're saying we were missing people. You were missing people.
Hold on, because isn't Jaylen Brown on this list?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, dude. I don't know how you guys are fitting these guys in here. All right.
Well,
Look at the picture that Miles sent our pod group with the list. Oh wait, you're on your phone. I'm stupid.
Yeah, no, don't worry about it.
Never mind.
We'll figure
Never
it out.
mind. Sorry.
We will figure it out. But Jimmy Butler, number 5. I don't know. Like Jimmy Butler is just such a weird player to me because he is like the playoff riser that we all know. And in the regular season, like his numbers look good. He was very efficient this year. Shot 41% from 3 on 2 attempts, 21 points, 5 boards, 5 assists. But there's still a part of me when watching him play. I wish we could see that playoff version of Jimmy Butler more throughout the regular season because the Heat are just a team that just coasts through the regular season. They get in the play-in tournament, and this year it ended up costing them because Jimmy got injured in the play-in game and then, unable to, really play in the playoffs. So Jimmy Butler, to me, out of all those like top players, top star players over the last few seasons, to me, he is the most overrated because he's the only player that us as fans, we really just don't care about his numbers in the regular season versus the playoffs. Like Anthony Davis, like as another guy, like Anthony Davis, we'll talk about in future episodes, like maybe because it's Laker fans, but he has so much pressure on him from fans to perform in the regular season when he's still, great in the playoffs. I don't know why we don't get that for Jimmy Butler. I think that for
like
coasting through regular seasons,
it's the complete opposite for Jimmy
a little bit better.
Man, yeah, you're absolutely right. It's like the complete opposite. Yeah, wow. I
I figured
have
out what I'm
Jimmy a little
saying. Put
higher.
Jimmy Butler at 4 for me too,
Jimmy at 4 for you?
because I had KD on here.
Okay, Jimmy Butler, number 4. All right.
Oh yeah, Durant's a 4. He's a power forward. Nice. My
That's
forward.
why the list is. That's why it's thrown
Yeah.
off.
Do you have LeBron on there too? Because he's a power forward as well.
Yeah.
He's a power forward as well.
All right. Just you guys finish it.
I have DeMar at 4.
Same here. Or actually, no, just kidding. This is where I have Lowry Markkinen. I switched things before the episode.
Okay, yeah. I have DeMar at 4. Out of the 6 people with Brandon Ingram, Lauri Markkinen, as well as DeMar, and my top 3, which are people one of them is you just talked about, Jimmy Butler. I have him at 3. He averaged the most points and played the most games and tied with Brandon Ingram for most blocks. So I don't know. Like, to me, DeMar DeRozan, he's just been just a scorer, such a baller since he's been in Toronto. Then he went to San Antonio, the same thing. Chicago, same thing. I think he's just going to do the same thing. I think he's just an upgraded version of Harrison Barnes in Sacramento, just another scoring option for Domantas Sabonis to pass to. I think he's going to have a fantastic year there.
Yeah, DeMar. Yeah, I've loved DeMar these last, few years in Chicago. He's been so fun to watch, but also he's been so annoying when he's played like the Cavs, as Cavs fans, because he will make the most contested mid-range shots, and it's so ironic because when we would play him in the playoffs, he would be unplayable. So it's completely we're getting it now since DeMar is now out of Toronto, but very good year, second in clutch player. He's always one of the clutchest players in basketball. And, just a very, very efficient year again for DeMar DeRozan. He's just always a steady guy. You know exactly what you're going to get from him.
Facts.
So he's who I have at number 3. I've got Markkinen at number 4.
I had Jimmy,
and we've talked about Markkinen a lot already. He had a very good year. Jackson had Jimmy Butler at number 4, Markkinen at number 3.
I had Jimmy at 3. Mostly I just had Jimmy at 3 because I'm looking at it, and again, out of these 6 players, and with Paul George and Jaylen Brown as my top 2 as well, rounding it out, just to name the 6 players I'm comparing with, he tied with Jaylen Brown at shooting almost 499%. So basically 50% from the field. He shot the best 3-point percentage out of all of them and was the highest value over replacement. It says, at 3.4, which is
numbers
still
do look really good.
Like, even at 20 points a game, like he tied with the lowest scoring out of those 6, but was the most efficient and highest value over replacement. So that even factors in like defense too, and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I get. Sometimes I just look at stats. Who knows? But Jimmy Butler,
it's definitely fair. I think just my thing with Jimmy Butler. I mean, I already talked about the stuff with fans and stuff not getting on him for playing through the regular season. I look at this. I mean, looking at this Heat team, especially this year, they should not have been just a play-in team. I know you guys had him, as a home court team coming into the year because they did make the final. So that wasn't a crazy thing to think at all. And for him to be the leader of that team, they should have performed a lot better as a team. Yeah. I guess that's where I kind of
we have higher expectations. We do have higher expectations with a Spoelstra and Jimmy Butler led Heat team that just a couple years ago was in the finals. So that's fair.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So number 2, Paul George.
Yep.
Paul George, very good regular season, rough playoffs. You kind of get that with Paul George. Excited to see him in Philadelphia where, it's ironic with Paul George. He was talking about, he can't wait to try to alleviate the pressure from Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid, because sometimes, Embiid can be injury prone. He's kind of coming from that same situation with Kawhi Leonard with the Clippers. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, he just kind of threw himself into another kind of Clipper situation, I hate to say it. We've talked about it so many times this offseason, how interchangeable the Philadelphia 76ers and the Clippers are. And Paul George literally, they pretty much are the same team, just opposites in opposite conferences of each other. Like,
Yeah, pretty much. But number one small forward in the league, Jaylen Brown, Finals MVP.
Eastern
Yeah,
Conference
I mean, there's not really
MVP.
What
much you
position
can
is
say.
Kawhi Leonard?
Incredible
Power forward.
I don't know
Power
what
forward.
freaking is happening, bro.
That's why the power forward list is going to be crazy because all the old
Yeah.
small forwards now play power forward because the league has gotten smaller.
Yeah.
That's
Except for Lauri
Definitely,
Markkinen, who
definitely
still
insane.
plays. Except for Lauri Markkinen, Nick. Everyone's gotten smaller except him.
make it make sense.
Oh
Sorry,
my
I-
goodness!
sorry I
Well, those
really
are the
dropped the
two
ball on
lists.
this one,
If you
guys.
let us know what your thoughts on these two lists. Oh, it's all good. It happens. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe for more NBA content. Leave a comment with your thoughts on these two top 10 lists: the Olympics, the Jazz extending Lowry Markkinen, and the opening schedule reveal. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Peace.
Peace.